Hello and welcome to the MB Om podcast, where you will learn to master the business of yoga with guests from around the world who have experienced becoming successful yoga teachers, studio owners, and much more. Now, here's your host, Amanda Kingsmith.
Hey yogis and yoga teachers and everyone who's listening to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the MBOM podcast. Today on the podcast, I have a friend and special guest back from season 1. So if you haven't listened to Carolyn McPherson's episode of the podcast where she talked about her experience teaching yoga and living abroad, I would definitely recommend going to listen to this episode. I firmly stand by the fact that Carolyn is one of the most strongly independent, courageous, brave travelers and yoga teachers I've ever met. She's so willing to put herself out there for her passion of teaching. She wants to spread yoga all over the world, and she does it in a very strategic way. So Carolyn and I know each other from university back in Calgary, Alberta. We both have business degrees, and now our paths have both taken us towards our love of travel and our love of yoga. And so Carolyn's been a yoga teacher for a number of years. She's taught all over the world. She's taught in Nicaragua, the Dominican Republic, in India, Angola, and now, after a brief period of time back in Canada, she is in Zambia. And she is starting to run yoga retreats in Zambia, so I felt like it was the perfect time to have her back on the show to talk about starting yoga retreats in Africa, because she's the only person I know running yoga retreats in Africa. And so I'm super excited to be chatting about this and to be hearing about what that process is like, what she's offering to people. And I hope that everyone can learn a lot from this, especially if you're interested in travel and yoga, like both Carolyn and I are. So without further ado, here's Carolyn. So I'm super excited to be joined once again on the podcast by Carolyn McPherson, who last time we chatted, I think was in India teaching, and now you're in Zambia. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And what is the city that you're near to in Zambia?
It's Livingstone. So it's actually right on the border of Zimbabwe and Zambia. It's right by the famous Victoria Falls. So the town, Livingstone, is about 5 kilometers away from Victoria Falls. And the Eco Lodge where I'm staying at is directly in between the town and the Victoria Falls.
Oh, that's so amazing. It's definitely on the bucket list.
Yes, it's very amazing.
That's so cool. It's been awesome seeing your photos too. I was saying this before we officially started the interview, but it's been so cool watching your photos because there's just animals everywhere. It's like you're interacting with your day-to-day life, and then there's zebras and giraffes and so much cool stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing. So as I mentioned before, where the Victoria Falls are, there's a small national park on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe. And so, of course, like any national park in Africa, there's tons of animals. So sometimes I just go on my bicycle and, I see zebras, giraffes, monkeys, impala. Elephants will be coming in the next season. So it's really cool. And I've got some pretty amazing good photos for my Instagram and Facebook with me doing yoga poses with a zebra or a giraffe in the background.
So much more unique than the typical dancer pose on a beach.
Yeah, a little bit.
I love it. And so
the locals keep telling me, don't get so close, don't get so close. But I'm always like, okay, can I get a bit closer to the giraffe before he runs away? They're like, be careful, he kicks.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But it's really amazing. And once I went there without my camera, just as an exercise of kind of being in the moment, because I think this is a little bit unrelated, but sometimes, with these photos and stuff, we just get so concerned I have to capture the moment perfectly on my iPhone. But the time that I went there without my phone, it was so cool. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to look at the zebras and the giraffes. And it's really amazing to see how they eat the trees and how they walk. And you just they're such magnificent animals. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so different from, growing up in Alberta, you get some really amazing animals as well,
bears.
But it's just so different. Yeah, bears, elk.
Yeah.
And so for anyone who hasn't been, following along with everything you've done since you were on the podcast last, can you catch us up as to what you've done since you left the eco resort that you were teaching at in India?
Sure. So I left there August of last year. And actually, I was working there. So when I finished my job contract, my boss, the Indian owner of the ashram, he was supposed to buy me an airplane ticket back to Canada. But I didn't feel like going back to Canada, my home at that time. So he literally gave me the option, choose anywhere in the world you want to go and I'll buy you a one-way ticket there, because that was part of my compensation package. So I thought about it for a few days or weeks and I decided to go to Angola. So in case anyone has not heard of Angola, which is probably possible, it's actually a pretty big country in the southern part of Africa. And it has a lot of natural resources like oil and diamonds. So it's quite a wealthy African country, also quite corrupt, and huge income disparities. But anyways, the reason why I personally wanted to go there was because I really like the type of music and dance called kizomba, which is from Angola. So I thought I had this amazing opportunity to take a trip anywhere I wanted to. So I went there. And I had heard beforehand that the cost of living in Angola was expensive, very expensive. So I thought I might just stay there for a couple of weeks. But before I left, before a few weeks was finished, I had already started teaching yoga. I was staying in the capital city, and within a few weeks of me being there, I started teaching 4, 5, or 6 classes a day.
Wow.
6 days a week. I had one day where I wouldn't accept classes. So busy. Like I've never taught that many classes before and probably never will again, because it's not actually sustainable, especially since they were all in different locations and I was going on my bike from one to the other. So some days I would bike almost 20 kilometers to get me from class to class to class, starting at 6 a.m, finishing at 8 p.m. So it was an amazing experience, and especially being in India for so long prior to that, I felt like I had learned a lot. I had absorbed a lot from being in an ashram in India that I really wanted to share with people who wanted to learn or were appreciative of this important or great information that I felt that I had. So this was a really cool opportunity because the people were so eager for yoga, and a lot of the people living in Angola, both expats and Angolans, they feel that it's quite a high stress city to live in. There's a lot of problems, traffic and water supply and electricity and just lack of goods that you can buy there. So a lot of the people feel really stressed, and there's not so many options for, leisure activities, and there's not really that many other yoga teachers there. So there seemed to be a great demand for my classes. Then I went home, so I stayed there until just before Christmas time. Then I went home to Canada for Christmas. I ended up staying at home for a couple of months, which was great, just to catch up with my family and friends.
Yeah, when's the last time you spent that much time in Canada?
Yoga teacher training course in Canada. 2011.
Like university?
Usually I come home for 2 to 4 weeks. Yeah. I mean, I come home about once a year for 2 weeks to 4 weeks is kind of average, but I stayed a little bit longer this time because I wasn't really sure what I'd be doing next. And I kind of felt like my next move was more important because I wanted to transition into continuously moving around every 6 months or something to kind of start something and really focus on it and stay there for a couple of years or maybe my whole entire life if it, really works out and I really love it. So that's why I took a long time to decide where I was going to go next. And finally I decided on Zambia, which has actually been a country that's been in my mind for the last 5 or 6 years, for a variety of reasons. But I think that since it's been on my radar kind of for so long, in terms of starting a business here, I think it's a good African country to consider. So I came here about a month ago, and so far things have been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I just had a question about when you're in Angola. So it's like you get there and you recognize that there's not a lot of yoga there. How did you go about finding these opportunities or creating these opportunities for yourself to be teaching so much?
Well, there was a combination of just kind of luck, and I happened to meet some really amazing people, and a combination of me going out and introducing myself. So I went around to some gyms and hotels that I saw. I was staying right downtown, so I could, walk or take my bike to a lot of places. So I went to one kind of gym type place that had, Zumba classes and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and stuff like that. I went there And they actually had a sign that said advertised they also had yoga and Pilates. They had Pilates. So I went and I asked if they had yoga classes, and they said, no, we used to have a Brazilian teacher, but she left half a year ago, so we don't have yoga classes there. And I said, oh, well, I'm a yoga teacher and I just came to Angola and I'm considering staying here for a few months, maybe up to 1 year, which I thought at the time I might stay there for 1 year. So she said, wow, great. When can you start? And she didn't ask me any of my qualifications or anything. She didn't even care that I barely spoke Portuguese. Like I was speaking to her. The language in Angola is Portuguese. So I was speaking to her in Portuguese, although my Portuguese was quite bad because I basically just tried to speak Spanish, which I could use and change a few words to make it sound more like Portuguese. Anyways, so she just accepted me right away. And then a similar thing happened in 2 hotels, kind of really luxury hotels that a lot of the business executives stay in. They have gyms. And so I just went inside to the hotels and I said that I was a yoga teacher. I was planning on staying in Angola for a little while. Could I start teaching there? And both of them, same thing. Without hesitation, they said, yes, when can you start? We're putting you on our schedule. So I had those classes at the kind of gyms or hotels. And then I just happened to meet a couple of expat ladies who introduced me to a bunch of others, mostly American and some European expats. And a lot of them were actually expat wives, as they kind of call themselves. So their husbands were working for oil companies and they were just there because of their husbands. So they had a lot of free time and, you know, loved yoga. So I ended up teaching. Those became kind of like my grade classes. That I would go to their housing compounds or apartment complexes, and then they would just get a group of like 6 or 8 ladies together and they would all pay directly to me. So that was really cool. And then I got a few, there was a few other kind of like studios or gyms I was teaching at, and then a few other private classes. I was also teaching some private classes to Angolan, like this Angolan couple. And I had a lot of Angolans coming to my gym classes. So it was a mix of Angolans and expats, but like I said, so some of it was me walking around to places that could have yoga classes, and then the other part was just kind of word of mouth. And I mean, I only stayed there I ended up staying there for 4 months in total, and throughout the whole entire time, people would just call me and they'd say, oh, I got your number from so-and-so, and I'm interested in yoga classes, and it just kind of kept spreading by word of mouth.
Wow, that's so cool. I feel like that is really the benefit of going somewhere where there's like an expat community / people with money and, you know, a lot of stress and not a lot of yoga.
Yeah, exactly. The situations were kind of great. And like I kind of explained to you before we started this, it's kind of based on supply and demand, which is something we learned in business school, that in, for example, Bali or Costa Rica, or even a lot of places in the US or Canada, the supply of yoga teachers is huge. There's hundreds or if not thousands of yoga teachers. And there's also a large demand for classes. But I mean, the supply of teachers is just so much. Whereas here in Luanda, there was no one else working as a full-time yoga teacher. There were a few Angolans who taught a couple of yoga classes, you know, in the evenings, but they had full-time jobs. So there was just this huge demand and not a lot of supply of yoga teachers. So it was great from a business perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was that one of the considerations that you had in mind when you decided to go to Zambia?
Well, not exactly, because in Zambia, I'm actually doing something different. So here I'm trying to organize yoga retreats. So I have started teaching yoga classes to the residents in Livingston town. And I have I teach 5 days a week, and I have maybe 12 to 15 kind of regular students who come so far. But Livingstone is a small town, and there's not the type of money here in general like there was in Angola. So I don't think I would be able to survive. I'm not sure, but I don't think I would be able to survive just by teaching yoga classes to the local residents in Livingstone, just because it's a small town and there's not, you know, it's not like this really rich place like Angola, although not all of Angola is rich. So, I mean, when I was thinking about coming to Zambia, of course I did research if there's other yoga retreats, because if someone was organizing a similar yoga retreat within the same region where I was, I don't think it would have really made sense for me to go. But there's no other yoga retreats in the whole entire country of Zambia. There has been a few kind of one-off ones, like a teacher from Europe or South Africa or something might organize like a 1-week yoga retreat. I've seen these previous brochures advertised, but there's nothing like I'm doing kind of setting up in a place where it's regular yoga retreats that will be offered throughout the year. So I think it's, again, like I said, I wouldn't have come here if there was someone doing something similar. There are people doing similar things in nearby other African countries like Namibia, Botswana, of course, South Africa. So I think that based on the location where I'm at, which is near Victoria Falls, which is one of the kind of bucket list checks for a lot of people in the world. So people can kind of combine seeing this amazing natural wonder, seeing the beautiful African animals, having maybe a first trip to Africa, plus doing yoga and meditation in an absolutely beautiful place surrounded by so many trees and nature and bird sounds, and everything's organized. They don't have to have this intimidation of, oh, I'm going to Africa, whether it's the first time or not. I think about food, accommodation, safety, transport. In this yoga retreat that I've organized, which I'll talk more about later probably, everything is all organized for them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's cool to have that being offered by an expat who's actually living there, because it's a lot of times yoga retreats are offered by people who are from, you know, maybe like Canada or the US, and they're taking you somewhere, but they are not actually living in that place. Like it's a week for them away as well. They're just the teacher who's hosting it.
Correct. And I think because of me staying here, I can actually have my costs quite lower because I don't really need to think about, you know, covering my transport, or I have to take time off of work from my other yoga classes or whatever job I have in my own country. So here, I think it can actually be, I mean, if I get the quantity, the number of yoga people coming who I want to, the cost can actually be quite less compared to how you described, where someone is bringing from their country, because they have to cover all of their own costs as well.
Yeah. I love that. That's so amazing. It's cool to combine, like, to be consistently combining your love of travel and yoga, and now to be kind of offering that in a different capacity, like to be offering retreats. And so it was very intentional to go to Zambia and to create retreats there. Like, was that your idea the entire time, or did you get there and kind of like formulate what you were going to do once you were there?
No, that was my idea the whole time. And actually, I've had a dream since 5 or 6 years ago of actually offering dance retreats in Zambia specifically. So it's basically the similar idea of a yoga retreat, but targeted towards dancers, and they would come and learn local styles of dance. So I still have that as kind of a future plan, but I actually have much more experience running the yoga retreats. And I know that yoga retreats are a well-known phenomenon. It's kind of a trend nowadays. People love to go on yoga retreats, and there's all these websites where you can market your yoga retreats, and I know about all of this. So yeah, it was very, very intentional for me to come here. I had even started making some of my plans before I actually landed here. And it's kind of been, a long time dream of mine to set something like this up fulfilled. And what I'm doing now is just the first steps, and I have so many great ideas. And like I said, this move was not the first time, but I am considering long term. So I'll give myself kind of 6 months to 1 year to really work on it and try it out. But if everything is going well, I could possibly see myself staying here for a long time and kind of settling and really making this my project.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure, but I do think that I want to settle somewhere within the next year, couple of years. So if everything works out, then maybe this could be the place.
Yeah, I think it's been...
There's a lot of things to consider, of course, for that, though.
Yeah, for sure. And what's the visa process like? Like, is it easy to just, like, move to Zambia, or what's that side of it like? Yeah,
so that's actually can be quite difficult in a lot of countries. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I left Angola after 4 months, because it was becoming quite difficult for me to get the 1 year working visa like I wanted to in Angola. So here in Zambia, when I landed at the airport, I got a 30-day business visa. So that allows me to start working right away for these 30 days. And I'm just about to finish these 30 days. So I have all my documents ready. And in a couple of days, I'll be dropping them off at the immigration office to apply for a 2-year working permit. And I think, fingers crossed, I should be able to get it, because this time I'm working for a lodge, which is a Zambian business. And although I'm more of a contractor than employed by them, because I've kind of started my own project, but they're supporting me to get the visa, which is really great, because in Angola, I didn't have that. I was just completely independent, teaching private classes, So I had no one to help me get the visa, but here I have a Zambian registered company to sponsor me for the visa. So I think I should be able to get the 2-year working permit.
Yeah, that's great. And what's the lodge that you're working for?
It's called Munga Eco Lodge. So it's also kind of, I think, there's something else that I wanted to mention is it's great because the lodge, the owners, and myself, we kind of have these complementary, you could say, assets or skills. So I've had this idea for quite a long time to create these retreats in Zambia or an African country. And I believe that my idea is quite good and I'm very passionate about it and I have, energy and skills and good networks around the world. But I don't have this money to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually buy land and create my own place. Whereas this lodge where I'm staying, it's owned by a couple, a Zambian-Canadian couple actually. They're in their mid-70s and they invested all of this money to build this beautiful eco lodge. Like there's beautiful chalets, all this nature around, everything made with natural materials and really, really a nice place. They did an amazing job. But their expertise is not in marketing or advertising or actually business as far as I can see. So they've had, since in the last 3 years that they opened this lodge, they've had really, really, really low occupancy. So when I approached them last year about possibly starting a yoga program here, they were really excited because they said, well, of course, yoga goes along with the whole eco lodge idea, and they're just kind of at their limit. Like they need something to make this lodge pick up. They've invested so much, they're losing money monthly in it. So I think it's really, really amazing because they're great. Like they've given me almost complete control, freedom to do what I want here, which I understand from their perspective is amazing because it's kind of like their baby, right? Like they invested all this money and time to build this place, but I think they could see that it wasn't really picking up. So they're willing to trust me and give me the freedom to, do my own thing here. So I think it's a really great opportunity because, I don't have any financial risk. The only thing I'm investing is my time and my skills and my ideas. And for them, they also don't really have anything to lose because hopefully it will pick up. If not, then not. So for me, I could either work here for a couple of years using their lodge as my base and run these yoga retreats and then with the experience that I've gained, finally go on to my own project. Or I could possibly make this my own place and, become a part owner and maybe develop some other things on it. I'm already thinking of trying to get funding to make a yoga platform here because at the moment we have a place for yoga, but it's not perfect. It's kind of like in the common area and it's nearby to the restaurant, so sometimes it's a bit loud. But there's a really beautiful portion of their land which is still undeveloped. So I have some dreams of creating a yoga platform there. So I think me being at this lodge is great, a win-win situation for both them and for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. How did you go about finding that place? Like, did somebody tell you about it or was it just a Google search?
Yeah, I actually originally found it on the website Workaway, which I think you're probably familiar with, but they have a variety of different, basically volunteer opportunities in exchange for accommodation and food. So they can be anything from teaching yoga to construction work to teaching at a school or farming, whatever. They have so many different things. So last year when I was planning on leaving India and going somewhere in Africa, I was just looking for maybe different opportunities for yoga within some African countries that I was interested in. And I found this lodge, and then I just contacted them and I explained my idea about coming here and teaching yoga and organizing yoga retreats. And like I said, they were really receptive and excited about the idea.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so cool, the things that you can find on websites like Workaway or Woofing and that sort of thing. If you just comb through it and look deeply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think they had possibly had the idea of having a yoga teacher before, but they didn't really have the finances to bring one. But for me, what I am doing is I'm not asking them for a salary. So they're not paying me anything. I'm doing my own work. And once I get my own yoga students, once the retreat is up and running, then I'll start earning money. So I think for them, it's why wouldn't they accept it? They don't have to really invest anything up front. I'm willing to work, quotation mark, for free for a couple of months because I believe that this is a good long-term plan and that within a few months, bookings will start to come. I already have my first booking next week, actually. But I believe that, bookings will start to come and then I'll be able to start earning money. But I think that's something, I think I might have talked about this in a previous interview, is that, of course, I believe that I have good skills and good experience, so I'm not really willing to work for free continuously. But I think anyone who's an entrepreneur realizes that in order to create a successful business, you have to invest in first. And in my case, I'm willing to work for free and put in a lot of work without a guaranteed salary because I believe that this is a good idea that I have and it's going to pay off in the future.
Yeah, I think that that's a really important lesson that I've kind of learned over the last couple of years is like being able to prove your value and also seeing the value in something else where it's like, okay, like maybe you're not getting like a monetary exchange, but it's like the fact that you have all this freedom to promote this place that's going to help you get traffic to your yoga retreat once it's started and that you get to be there and have that experience is like, I mean, that's definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, from a personal perspective, I think, like you said, it's not all about monetary. I think what is my dream lifestyle? And to me, to be in this environment, like surrounded by nature and animals and an amazing river and waterfall just a couple of kilometers away, plus be nearby to a cute little touristic town that has a lot of, travelers coming through, this nice energy in it. So my ultimate, like right now, I'm just working really, really hard to try to get this up and running. But my ultimate dream a couple of years down the line is I won't offer retreats continuously throughout the year. I would maybe have 2 or 3 retreats per month, which I could hopefully earn enough money from those 2 or 3 retreats per month that the other 1 or 2 weeks per month, I don't have to necessarily work. And I can either catch up on my admin work or I can travel or I can have free time. And to me, this is kind of like my dream situation is if I can have a base in a really beautiful place where I can kind of create this community about yoga and health and culture and wellness, but then still have the freedom to travel, a week per month or say 2 months per year is just great.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like having that balance.
So I guess I'm working on creating this lifestyle that I want.
Yeah, I love that. I'm all about lifestyle creation. I think working towards like creating your ideal lifestyle and knowing what that looks like is like, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so can you tell me a little bit more about your idea for the retreat and what you're doing with that right now?
Yeah. So basically what I've created, I think you've seen the brochure. Maybe you could also post it with this interview. But basically what I've created is a 1-week all-inclusive yoga retreat in Livingstone, Zambia at this Munga Eco Lodge. And the word Munga, it means acacia tree because that's one of the dominant trees that you see around here. Anyways, so this is a 1-week package and it includes morning meditation. So I actually have an idea that I am excited about for a morning walking meditation because there's so many paths around this property and there's just, like I said, amazing trees and nature and birds. And so my idea to start every day is we'll gather together in the yoga room and I'll kind of give them the theme for the day. So whether it's about sight or whether it's about breath and prana or whether it's about hearing. So I want to have a different theme. That'll maybe be a 10 or 15 minute introduction and kind of guided meditation. Then I'll let them walk around the property for the next 30 minutes to do a type of moving or walking meditation. Then after that, they'll come back to the yoga place and we'll have a 90-minute morning yoga class. Then as soon as that's finished, breakfast will be served and prepared for them. Then each day out of the 7 days, there'll be a different, I think one day is a free day, but so there's 6 different activities planned. So basically each day will go on a different activity. One day, of course, is a visit to the Victoria Falls, which will be a guided tour with a local guide to explain all about, again, the nature and the history and the culture around Victoria Falls. One day will be a safari. So we go in the safari truck and we go through the national park and see all the animals. One day is a sunset cruise on the Zambezi River. So you're on the boat going down the river at sunset time. One day will be a bicycle tour of a local village. One day will be a bird and nature walk with this expert guide that we have. And then there's also a kind of drumming and dance cultural experience where they'll watch the performance and have the opportunity to learn either the drums and or the dance if they want. So that's each day there'll be the certain which is in the afternoon time. We'll also be preparing lunch. Mostly the lunch will be like picnic style lunch, so it goes with them on the retreat. Then they come back in the late afternoon, have a bit of time to relax and freshen up, and then we'll have the yoga class from about 4:30 till 6 p.m. The evening yoga class. Then again a bit of free time, and then there's dinner, and then the evening is mostly free. So that's kind of the general schedule. And all of the food that they're going to be eating we're working on the menu right now. So it'll be kind of a set menu that they're given when they're here. But we're working with a lot of local ingredients from Zambia, from the markets that we can get here. We also have a big garden within this property. So a lot of the food that they'll be eating is from the very own garden. And so we're kind of trying to think of Zambian fusion food. So things that are there's amazing greens, like type of spinach or kale, or the different local varieties here that grow here, which are so amazing. So making different salads and dishes with those. And we have, eggplants are in season right now, passion fruits are in season right now. So we're just working with our chefs to think of what can be kind of healthy and delicious in season Zambian inspired dishes. So that'll be for all of the meals here. And then the accommodation at this place is beautiful. Like I said, everything is made with natural materials. You hear so many bird sounds, fresh air all around. So they have their accommodation provided for. Of course, we also do the airport pickup. So we pick them up from the airport whenever they arrive and bring them here. And I'm also working on creating a little package that I'll give to each participant when they come. So the one thing that I've already finished is yoga mat bags made from the traditional Zambian or African fabric. So I think you've probably seen some type of this fabric, like really, really bright and colorful. So I've been working with a group of 3 ladies who are seamstresses, and they've sewn, I have 16 bags already finished that they've made for me based on a sample, a yoga mat bag that I had myself. So included in the price, each participant will get one of these yoga mat bags. And I'm looking towards other things. Like I met a lady a few days ago who's making soap here, handmade soap from goat's milk. So I was thinking of having a couple of things like this, like locally made in Zambia products that they can take home with them as kind of a memory of their trip, and also to support these local businesses that are producing things within Zambia.
Yeah, wow. That sounds like an amazing week. And so what's like the local Zambian food like? Like what are some of their traditional foods that they eat?
Well, they have a staple dish. It's called shima, and it's basically a staple dish across almost all the African countries that I've been to. And it's kind of like a corn flour, a cornmeal mixed with water, and it's basically like this big white lump. And they have it in West Africa, it's called fufu. They have it in Angola, it's called fungi. They have this, it's slightly different from country to country, but it's basically like a big glob of white filler that is really, really, really cheap, and it fills you up. And as far as I can tell, it doesn't have that much nutritional value to it. So they normally eat that, a big, big, big thing of nshima on their plate with some local greens, and then some either beans or lentils or a type of kind of meat stew. And that's basically what they eat for all their meals. So I'm not really interested in that type of food that much. But like the ingredients that you can find here in the local markets have really great potential. So in terms of, like I mentioned, amazing greens, so many different types of lentils and beans. So I've been working with the local chefs and the local staff to see like, okay, this is, we have hummus. So how can we modify hummus a little bit, but make it with local lentils that grow here? Or let's make a salad, but instead of just buying imported lettuce from the shopping stall, let's go to the market and see what ingredients we can pick that are growing right here, like amazing greens and different vegetables that we can put in the salad. So I want our food to be really Zambian, meaning it's with food, like with produce that grows here. Although what we're going to be creating and serving is probably not like any Zambian would actually eat it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Ryan and I did an interview for the World Wanderers with a guy who lived in Malawi for, I think, like 3 years. And I'm pretty sure he described a food that was very similar to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it was some sort of like, yeah, I think it was like a corn base or something. And I was like, oh, that sounds so good. Like a tortilla. He's like, it's not like a tortilla chip. what you know to be something made of corn, it's not that.
Yeah.
That's cool though. I love the idea of using the local products and stuff, taking like stuff that grows there and then, fusing that with other foods that you really love and that are healthy and good for you. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. We're excited about that, and we have a good team working on it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Has everyone been there? Has everyone been really responsive, like at the Eco Lodge to this?
Yeah, in general, yes. I mean, I think everyone has realizing, like a lot of the staff have been here long term, which I think is great. I mean, within 3 years since this lodge has opened. And of course, I think everyone can see that this lodge has not been successful over the last couple of years in terms of their really, really low occupancy. So I feel like I have quite a good relationship with most of the staff, and I think that's really, really important. And I try to take some time every day to just kind of chat with them and greet them, which is also part of the culture here, which I really like. So, in general, the people have been excited, and I'm allowing all of the staff here to come to my yoga classes for free whenever they want. And there's a couple of them tried it once. There's one girl who comes like regularly whenever she can. She seems to like it. But yeah, in general, they seem to be supportive and willing to go along with my ideas. And this is also really great because it's kind of cool. Like I can just think of these ideas and I just brief the people in the kitchen and I say, okay, this is what you want. And then they work on it. I kind of follow it up, but I can kind of leave it to them to do it because I'm not an expert in cooking. So I trust that if I give them my idea that they'll be able to do it. And so far I'm happy with everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how it's really become about like a team effort kind of with you working with this lodge, or that's what it sounds like at least, is like you kind of are like, here, I have this idea. Like, how can you help with this? Like, oh, I'd like to offer something for free. Somebody's like, I can make a yoga mat bag. And so when are you launching your first retreat?
Well, actually, so how I'm doing it to begin with is I'm not having set dates for the retreat. So this is kind of unusual for other yoga retreats, but I'm literally just letting people come whenever they want. So if only 1 or 2 people are here at a time, we don't really earn that much money, but we cover all of our costs. And for me, I just want to get people coming here and talking about it and getting reviews and also trying it out, like seeing how people react. So next week, actually, on Monday, I have the first booking. He paid for the whole entire 1 week yoga retreat exactly as I had it advertised. And he was actually a former client of mine in Angola. So, so like I said, when he's coming alone, we'll kind of just break even on the costs because our budget, in order for us to make money, we really need to have 4 to 6 people minimum for the retreat. But I don't care because I'm just really happy to be trying out everything that I've organized, seeing how it works, getting his feedback from it. So basically what I have in mind is that for the first couple of months, people can literally just come whenever they want. So if you have April 8th to April 15th off of work, you can just come for that 1 week and we're going to organize it for you. If it's one person coming alone, they have to pay slightly more for single occupancy in the room, which is normal in any hotel. But if 2 people were to come, it'll be the price exactly as I had advertised. And you basically can have kind of like a custom made yoga retreat. And then in the kind of midterm future, I think I would still like to let the dates be kind of flexible and just really try to get people to come whenever they want. And so if you and Ryan come on a Monday and start your yoga retreat then, and then 4 other people come on a Thursday, I think it will still work. We'll just have like Monday's activity is this, Tuesday's activity is this, Wednesday's activity is this, and then we can kind of overlap with people. So at the beginning, I'm just starting it like this. People can come whenever they want, and I'm going to try it out. And then, like I said, later on, maybe after at least 6 months to a year, once I hopefully have, people coming and booking regularly, then I'll start to make certain dates because ultimately I don't want to be here 365 days per year. Of course, I love traveling and I love having free time, even though I love it here. Now it's really exciting. Now I don't want to travel. I just want to stay here. But I know, by the end of the year, I'll be anxious to travel. So probably midway or towards the end of this year, then I'll start making certain dates and having, 2 to 3 retreats offered per month. And then people can book for those specific days. And then the days in between retreats will be my free time / catch up time.
Yeah, I really like that idea. We actually did a yoga retreat in Jamaica that was kind of the same concept. Like she had dates completely open. Like when I reached out, I found it on bookyogaretreats.com and I was confused because there was no dates, but the price was really good. It looked really great. It was like exactly what we were looking for. She's like, you can just tell me when you want to show up and we'll start your retreat that day. And that was like a selling point for me because our dates weren't, like they were flexible, but we also had to be back in the country by a certain period of time. We had to be like out of Peru by a certain date. So they weren't like terribly flexible. And if somebody only runs a retreat like twice a year, like what are the chances that your dates are going to work perfectly?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it just kind of goes along with the customer is king or customer is always right. And I mean, I'm offering this service, but I want to make it as flexible as possible for my customers. I want it to fit in with their schedule because they're the ones who are paying, they're the ones who are coming. So, if I'm here anyways, then why can't they just come whenever they want?
Yeah.
Because like you said, I'm not flying in from another country. I'm living here. So it's quite easy for me to have it whenever I want.
Yeah. I think that's a massive advantage as like somebody who is living there. Like your expenses are low being able to live there. You're getting to learn so much about like the country, the culture, the industry, what people look for in retreats, and you're able to like offer them on a really, really open time frame because you're there. Like even if people don't come, you're still there.
Exactly. Yeah.
What have been some of your biggest learnings as you've gone through this process so far?
I mean, it's of course adapting to a culture in a different country. So I'm lucky in that I've had experience working in other African countries, so I know what it's kind of like, which is that things generally go slower. Sometimes there's kind of differences in communication styles. So that's why, like I said before, I'm trying to develop a really good relationship with the staff so they can kind of understand my concept and what I want to work on, and so they can hopefully feel excited about it too. And also a thing is, I think just kind of not really rushing into things, kind of taking it easy. And actually, another thing I would like to start is I would like to start teaching maybe twice a week, free classes in the community in one of the poorer areas. But also for this, I really don't want to rush into it because I don't want to just present myself as some white girl from Canada who wants to teach yoga to the Africans. I want it to be to a group of people, whether it's women or children or whatever type of people, but people who wouldn't have the money to afford for yoga classes, but would like them out of their own idea. Not it's me saying, oh, this is a great Western or Indian thing or whatever, you should do it. So I just want to kind of wait for this type of thing until I meet maybe an NGO who I can work with or a group of people who seem interested, because especially also because Zambia is quite a religious country. So I don't want them to feel like I'm forcing a different belief system on them. So that's just an example. But I think in general, like even everything here is just, it operates a bit slower than we're used to in Western countries or even Asian countries that I've been in before. And just kind of embracing that. And that's actually part of the charm of living here, is the speed of life is a little bit more easygoing.
Yeah. After living in Angola, like going from India to Angola and then going back to Canada, did you find that Canada was like too fast-paced and a little bit overwhelming, or did you settle back into that pretty quickly?
Well, I wasn't working in Canada, so it wasn't really fast-paced for me. I just stayed at my parents' house and relaxed.
Got your mom to cook for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I think that's a great thing about me and my kind of skill set, is that I'm pretty adaptable now, and I can feel quite comfortable in an Asian country, in an African country, in a Canadian country, and I think I can, adapt pretty well, and I don't feel like I have any of this culture shock, or I think I'm effective in integrating myself wherever I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that that's like a really great skill to have. I think that I don't know. I don't think it came like, I guess, as naturally to me. I've gotten pretty used to, like, sometimes I look around and I'm like, oh, right, I'm in Asia and everything about this just feels like normal life to me. Like nothing feels weird. Like, okay, that's how we're operating. Okay, we'll just go with it. Mm-hmm. But I know the first time I backpacked, it was like a little bit overwhelming. Like going to Asia for the first time was like, whoa, where am I?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, my first times, of course, was the same. My first time in Africa, my first time in Asia. But now, I mean, I've been living 6 years in tropical countries, Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean, that it's kind of quite normal for me. But still, being in Canada, it also feels great and normal.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It's interesting how fast you can go back to like life at home and just be like, okay, I guess it like feels, this is just like what I was used to.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, I think that's one thing that I'm really excited for these yoga retreats is introducing an African country to people who have never been to Africa, like you, for example. I mean, you're a very adventurous and independent traveler, so I think you could go to Africa anytime you wanted to and travel around here. But there's a lot of people who would be interested in traveling to Africa but don't have the confidence or the independence or whatever to just plan a trip to an African country by themselves. So I think this is why this is a great opportunity, because you really get to see some of the best nature, the best culture, which I can really share because I've, staying here and I'm researching and I'm getting used to the community so I can present this to them. They'll really have a good experience. And I think for me, it's going to be so exciting to kind of see this place that am making into my new home from the fresh eyes of someone who's traveling here for the first time. So I think that'll be really rewarding for me also.
Yeah, I love that. And it's cool too that people are going to be able to have that experience like with you. Like I think it's cool to have that experience of going to somewhere for the first time and to feel outside of your comfort zone regardless. Like it'd be cool if it was with a local person, but you're giving these people kind of a blend where they get, this expat side of things, like somebody who understands, what culture shock can be like, or the fear of getting sick from bad water, while still being able to give them like, okay, let's go to a local village.
Yeah.
Like here, this local person's going to take you around today.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I'll be teaching the yoga classes because I'm the only yoga teacher around. But in terms of everything else, I'm organizing it. But I really want to try to get as many Zambians involved. And I'm not going to be the one guiding the bird and nature walks. I'm not going to be the one teaching African dance. It's going to be these people who live in this community who are doing all of that.
Yeah, I think that's like a perfect blend between, doing what you do best and being able to offer these other local experiences to the people who are coming to the retreats.
Mm-hmm.
Has it been challenging at all to find people to do the activities for the retreats?
Well, no, not really, because this is such a touristic area, and it's actually, I find, oversaturated in terms of lodges and restaurants and service providers, especially, or activity providers especially. Like there's so many different companies who are offering tours to Victoria Falls or airport pickups. There's so many. So that's, again, supply and demand. When there's a lot of different companies, I can kind of work on my terms and I can say, okay, well, I'm going to be in the future giving you groups of bookings of 6 to 8 people 3 times per month. So I want to have this discount because I'm, booking in bulk, I'm paying in advance. So I haven't worked out all of the details on this yet because, of course, I don't have my bulk bookings coming in yet. But actually, even just, again, through the people who I've met, especially through the yoga classes. So I've just been teaching, yoga classes in the evening to people within Livingstone. And a lot of them who've been coming are owners of these companies. Like one is doing bicycle tours and one is organizing rafting tours. So it's basically, I just talk to them and I say, okay, this is my idea for the retreat. So I'm going to partner with you because, again, we're all supporting each other. So if someone is coming to me and supporting my yoga classes, I would love to support her company that does bicycle tours. So, and that's also something I'm working on now, actually, is I'm trying to also talk to some of them and see if I can either go myself for free or for a discounted rate, which I believe is totally fair because I think if I'm promoting a certain activity with a certain service provider, I should know exactly what it is and, what I'm getting my clients into. So I'm hoping over the next couple of days and weeks to do try out some of these activities myself to make sure that they're great. But I mean, that's one amazing thing about being in this location is there's just so much to do, like so many touristic activities. And I also have a list of add-ons. So I have these kind of 6 included activities, which I believe are like the top must-see activities. But there's a lot of things. I mean, you can take a helicopter ride or you can do bungee jumping or whitewater rafting. And these are things that not everybody would want to do and not everybody can afford. But I'll have this option that if people are interested in doing these, they can just pay an extra fee and then easily add it onto their package.
Yeah, that's amazing. it sounds like you've got a pretty good handle on, I guess, like the logistics of doing all of this. Do you feel like that came like pretty natural from your business background, or was there like a lot of research in this, like before setting this up, or how did you go about that portion of it?
It honestly seems so easy. The idea was in my head and I just wrote it down and then I posted it online. Like, it's not that simple. I mean, it's kind of like I've been working towards this for the last, say, 5 years in terms of experience, and you could even go further, 4 years in terms of university study of business. But I have had this idea in my head. I mean, it's been evolving, but since 2011, 12, so 5 or 6 years, I had this idea in my mind, and it's been something I've been passionate about. I've been building my networks and contacts all around the world. I've been going to other yoga retreats and other eco-lodges myself. So it's kind of like I believe I've picked up what I consider to be the good or the best from every place that I've been to. And now I'm putting it together in my own thing, something that I'm really passionate about, something that I believe is a great, package and opportunity. And I'm really excited to just offer it and share it with people who want to come.
Yeah. I think you hit on two really good points there. Like, one, that you've been very intentional about the work experience and the places you've gone over the last couple years. And so if somebody were to just look at what you've done, they might think like, oh, you're just traveling and teaching yoga and going to places that interest you. But it's like, there's been a lot of intentionality behind the places you've gone. And then the other one that I hear a lot on the podcast is, which is why I asked you, is like being passionate about something. When you have this idea that you're so passionate and excited about, I feel like all these things that kind of can be blocks a lot of the time just become like, okay, I'm just going to go look this up because I don't know. I'm just going to go talk to somebody. I'm just going to go ask, well, okay, I need this. Like, how can I get it? And it becomes sort of more of a natural process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like for me also, I find it much more inspiring to work for myself than to work for someone else. Like when I was in India, I loved the place that I was working for, and I did, I believe I was hardworking and I did a good job. But it's not the same. I'm working for someone else. I just do whatever he tells me to. I'm doing it on his behalf. Here, I'm doing everything for myself. So I'm more motivated and I'm more passionate because this is really my project and my dream.
Yeah. It's really cool after having so many conversations with you as you've been building up to this to kind of see it starting to come to life. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
And so is there anything else you want to share about the process of this retreat or about this retreat if people are interested, or the yoga mat sort of side project that you're working with the local women on?
Yeah, actually, I did just want to say a little bit more about the yoga mat bags, actually, not yoga mats, the carrier bags. So this is one of my, what I consider best ideas, is I've developed kind of a fundraising scheme for people who are interested in coming to this retreat. I guess I can just say the price. The price right now, according to everything that I put, is $1,300 US. And I give discounts for groups of 4 people or more to get a packet. Anyways, so of course for some people that could be a bit on the expensive side, especially considering that you also have to buy your flight to come here. So my idea for fundraising to help people get the money to come here is I'm producing these yoga mat bags here in Zambia, which I can produce relatively cheaply while still giving the women who make them, a fair wage that they would want or expect. So then my idea is what I can do is, so say, for example, you're interested in coming to this yoga retreat. Then if you can basically buy an order of these yoga mat bags from me in bulk, and it will end up being approximately $10 or less per bag. So then I'm going to send you, say, 20 or 30 yoga mat bags. So you might have to pay me $200. You have to pay me up front. I send you the yoga mats. Then you can go around and have this as a fundraising for yourself to come to this yoga retreat. So think of how motivated you're going to be, because you're going to go around to all your friends and family and neighbors who probably also love yoga, because you love yoga. So you tend to have people who have similar interests with you. So you're going to go around to all your friends and you're going to say, look, I just have this shipment of beautiful yoga mat carrier bags, which were shipped to me in Zambia. It was handmade by some local ladies. They're sewing it with local African fabrics. Look at how beautiful and cool it is. If you buy one of these, you're supporting these ladies who made it, but you're also supporting me to go to Zambia and fulfill my dream of going to this yoga retreat. And I know that yoga mat bags in Canada or Europe or wherever could easily sell for $20, $30 or more dollars. So if you can buy it for less than $10, you could easily make $20 profit per yoga mat bag. And I think people might even buy it for more. You don't have to sell it for a fixed price. It's almost like a donation, or like people are supporting the project. And so, you might sell one to your mom or your aunt, and she says, okay, I'm going to buy it for you for $100 because I'm supporting this project. There's a story behind it. There's a concept. So you might be able to earn $500 for yourself profit from selling these yoga mat bags. And then what you do with this money is you come back to Zambia to this retreat. You're going to pay this $500 plus the rest of your own money for me to, your fee for this retreat. But then what happens is all of the money goes back into the community. So it's going to all of the local staff who are staying here, the housekeeping staff, the kitchen staff, the reception staff. It's going to the local activity providers. Of course, it's going for me also to organize the retreat. But this money, so it's like it's originating the product in Zambia. It's going back to your country. You're selling it there, and then you earn the money and you bring it back here. So I think this is just so exciting, and I haven't really been promoting this yet because I'm still finalizing all the details, but I know this is something that I want to do and need to do, and to me it's like the best idea. So I'm just kind of, still working with the ladies and figuring out all the pricing logistics and how much it'll be to send these internationally. But it's really amazing because there's no real overhead costs from your side. Like, you don't have to have a physical store. And like I said, you're going to be motivated. And I think for the people who are coming, it will be easy to sell it amongst their family and friends.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's really cool to see, so this idea of supporting local communities is something I really love, but I don't really love the idea of just tossing my money at charities. It's never been something that, I guess when I was younger, I was like, oh, I want to, support maybe people who have less money than myself or than my family does. And I want to, help people in developing countries. But I've learned that it's I don't want to just throw my money at people or at charities to do what they want with. Mm-hmm. It's to be able to support local people in a really directional way. And then it's you get to go to Zambia and you've sold these yoga mats and you get to go there and see the community and see the local people and see where the women make them and that sort of thing, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get connected with these women that you're working with?
It was actually the receptionist who works here. She had a nice dress made, and so I asked her where she made it from, and so she gave me the phone number of the seamstress who made it. And so I just called her and asked her if she'd be interested in making some yoga mat bags. Of course, she had no idea what a yoga mat bag was. So I gave her a sample, like the yoga mat bag that I had, which actually my mom sewed for me a few years ago. And so I just gave her that sample, and the next day she had replicated it. I actually wanted it to be slightly different, so I explained her how I wanted it to be. And the next day she had finished it, and I didn't even pay her anything up front. She used her own fabrics, her own materials, and she said, okay, here's your sample. What do you think of it? And I said, wow, it's perfect. And then, so when I went to pick it up, then I myself bought fabric. So I chose the fabrics that I think are cool. I bought enough fabric for 16 yoga mat bags. I gave it to her and I paid her up front for half of her work, the price that she agreed on. And so she told me her price, per bag. And the receptionist who gave me the contact, she said, oh, you should definitely bargain with her. If, especially if you're making in bulk, try to lower the price. But I wasn't interested in that. She told me the price that she was paying per bag. And to me, it seemed very fair and very reasonable. So I said, great, I want 16 bags at this price. I picked up already the 16 bags. They were all good. And then I gave her fabric for another 16. So I don't actually have any, buyers yet, but I really do believe this is a great idea. And I do believe that, any day someone could say, yeah, I want 20 yoga mat bags sent to me in Germany or whatever country. And then I want to have them ready for when that happens. So again, I'm just going slowly, because of course this is my own money that I'm investing to buy the fabrics and to pay her for her work. So I'm just, kind of trying to build up my supply. And then when I have, a few more varieties, I'm going to start posting in more online and start advertising this, and then hopefully, but I mean, even people who don't want to go to the retreats, they can still do this. I was even thinking I could try to approach different yoga studios and see if they want to sell it in their reception area, because I mean, the bags are, I think, beautiful and nice with this African fabric and quite unique, but it's kind of the story behind it that's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so cool. I was like, oh, if you had a yoga studio, that'd be the perfect place to sell these.
Mm-hmm.
I think too, I have a friend who has, somebody made her one exactly like that. And I know from working at Lululemon for a couple of years, like Lululemon sells yoga mat bags, but the one that I think it was a friend made for her, like she would always get compliments on it because it's just so much more like unique and like it seemed more personal than just like a black like bag made out of synthetic material.
With the Lululemon logo on it, which everyone has.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like everyone else has those. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I love Lululemon. I think that Lululemon serves like a need in the industry. But I think that there's something about like your yoga mat bag doesn't need to be like breathable and moisture wicking and made out of technical fabric, and it doesn't need to cost $100. It could just be like something cool with like a great story behind it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is another way of marketing too. Like, that's also why I had the idea to give everyone for free, like each participant, they get a yoga mat bag, because then they're going to carry it around to their yoga studio and they're going to want to talk about, oh yeah, when I went on this retreat in Zambia, you know, if someone comments, wow, that's a cool yoga mat bag, they're not just going to say thanks. They're going to say, thanks, I got it when I was in Zambia on this yoga retreat. It was so amazing, da da da. So then they're helping with my marketing.
Yeah, definitely. That was actually my next question. I was going to ask, like, what are you doing for marketing to get your retreat out there to get the lodge out there and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot with my own personal networks, which is something that I've kind of cultivated and been building up over the last couple of years. So, just in terms of posting on my own social media, and I've been emailing a lot of people who I think might be interested in the brochure, and then, they might be sharing it with other people. I've also created a listing on Book Yoga Retreats. You mentioned that website before. So it's free to create the listing there, and then they charge a 14% commission for all bookings that are booked through them. But they're kind of like the leader of yoga retreats. So to all the listeners, if you see it on Book Yoga Retreats, try to book directly through us. But no, even if people are booking through Book Yoga Retreats, it's still great because, again, Book Yoga Retreats serves a need, and I'm really, really grateful that they're doing this promotion. And we're the only yoga retreat in Zambia, so in case anyone wants to come to Zambia for a yoga retreat, they'll easily see this program that I've created. They can compare it with one to Namibia, which costs $5,000 for 1 week.
Oh, wow.
And one in Tanzania, which is about $3,000 for 1 week. So I think, and also, like, the accommodation might be slightly more quotation luxury in those retreats, but honestly, I think that the activities that I'm offering here are better. Because they call yoga safaris. So you might go on a safari 3 or 4 times, like to go out and see the animals 3 or 4 times different days, but there's not really any other activities because you're in the middle of the bush. But here, because we have the Victoria Falls and the Zambezi River, I believe, plus like a local kind of community or town nearby, I believe it's more a holistic experience, and you're going to have one complete day viewing the animals on your safari. If you want to, you can add on additional game drive safari, but I really believe that this is kind of a unique experience to see like kind of a holistic view of this, region of Africa.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, and then, sorry, to get back to the actual question. And then also in terms of marketing, so what I want to do is contact different yoga studios and yoga teachers in different countries. And what I'm also willing to do is partner with other yoga teachers. So I've first been focusing on South Africa, actually, because South Africa is geographically close and yoga is quite popular in certain big cities in South Africa. So I believe that South Africa is a good target market. So first I've been targeting South Africa, emailing a lot of different yoga teachers and studios just from Google searches. I found them. And what I have presented to some of them is that if they're a yoga teacher and if they can get a group of at least 8 students together, then they will come for free. Like the teacher will come for free for this whole entire package if they get at least 8 students. And then if the teacher wants to teach, normally there's a morning and evening class, which I teach both. So if a teacher is organizing it, they could do the morning class and I could do the evening class, or vice versa, which I think is a win-win situation. And then maybe I could even pay them a bit of money for coming. So this is, I think, a cool way of helping to market, because then, if people are coming more in bulk, that's not the right word to say for people, but, like a larger number of people coming together, then I could afford to let the yoga teacher who organized them come for free, because she's also working in kind of marketing and bringing her students here. So I have that idea. Like I said, I've mostly been focusing my efforts at first on South Africa. Next, probably I'll target Calgary and Canada because that's familiar to me. And then I'll move to Europe and US and maybe Asian countries, like basically anywhere in the world. Having it on book yoga retreats means anyone can see it. But by actually emailing different yoga studios and yoga teachers, it's, they're more likely to see it or have the idea.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that idea.
Yeah, so those are my ideas so far. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so if people are interested in the retreat, where can they go to sign up for it, learn more about it?
Yeah, well, I've created an email address, which is africayogaretreat@gmail.com. So, of course, they can email me for more information. There's also the website. So it's Munga Eco Lodge is the name of where I'm staying. I actually can check the website, or I can send it to you later and you can include it as a link, right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so but anyways, if you just Google Munga Eco Lodge, you'll see the website of this lodge, and then there's one tab on their website called Yoga Retreat in Africa. You can click on that and then you'll see all the information. So you'll see all the information about the price, what it includes, and I've also created a nice PDF brochure, which is, I think, 5 or 6 page document, which again, it's really nice. It has a lot of pictures in, and it explains, more about the type of yoga we'll do here, about the accommodation, about the food, about everything that it includes, about all the optional extras. So this is kind of this 6-page brochure. So, if it's possible, we could also include that with this podcast. People can see the brochure to read more about all the actual information. And then the contact information in terms of the website, Munga Eco Lodge's website, my email address, and also my phone number, which is my WhatsApp number, are there. And since, I have this basic yoga retreat package, which is for 1 week, but since I'm trying to make it very, customized and adaptable per person, I want each person to email me before they're coming here so we can kind of talk to see exactly, the dates they're coming and exactly what they want to be doing when they're here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like you've started something that's going to be really, really great as people learn more about it.
Yeah, I hope so. So I know I have to do a lot of work still in marketing before people start coming, but that's, I guess, part of the fun, part of the challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's awesome though. I told Ryan, I was like, we need to make it to Zambia in the next 6 months to 1 year while Carolyn's definitely still there.
Yeah, definitely I'll be there within that time frame. I'm hoping to get the 2-year working visa soon, so I could, be here for 2 years. But really, like I said, if it becomes successful and if I love it here, then, I could stay longer. Or another thing I thought of is if the program becomes really successful, but I decide I don't want to stay here for some reason, I could try to look for someone else who could take it over and continue running these retreats. Because I do believe it's a really, really cool and unique program.
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Amazing. Is there anything else you want to share about the retreat or about life in Africa or anything like that?
Well, I guess just as a closing paragraph, I just want to say to whoever's listening that thank you for your time in listening. And this is really, for me, a dream realized. And it's, I believe, like I said, very unique, very exciting yoga retreat package that you're doing much more than yoga. You're supporting the whole entire community, the environment. You're going to have an amazing experience where seeing new things. And so I've done so much work in this month that I've been here. I know in the next months I have so much on my to-do list to make this retreat as amazing as possible. And so I'm so appreciative that you've taken the time to interview me and allowed me to share my story and talk more about this retreat. And to everyone who's listening, I hope that you are also excited about what I'm doing. And I would love it if people can kind of help me in my marketing efforts and, share the brochure or share this interview with other people who might be interested, because this is the whole way how it can become successful is, people hearing about it and talking about it and coming to it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time. I always get so inspired when I talk to you. Just like, oh, she's just, chasing her dreams, traveling the world, living in Africa, and now starting your yoga retreat. So like I said before, it's been really cool to talk to you throughout this journey. And I'm excited that you're like starting the first step of sort of your, I guess, like end goal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm also very excited, and thank you for allowing me to share it with you and talk to you about it. And I'm also really always excited to follow what you do, and so happy that you're also living your what seems ideal lifestyle and with your own business and your own dreams. So I don't know, it's great to catch up with you and to talk to other like-minded people who we can be inspired by each other.
Yeah, definitely. So that concludes the interview with Carolyn McPherson on running a yoga retreat in Zambia. So hopefully for anyone out there who is curious about running retreats abroad or about the yoga retreat specifically in Zambia, maybe you've got some good ideas on how to launch it or how to run it, or if you are looking to run a yoga retreat in Zambia and you want to reach out to Carolyn and see how you guys can collaborate, definitely reach out to her, africayogaretreat@gmail.com. And there's a link to the yoga retreat up on the show notes at www.mbomyoga.com. You can join the community on Facebook and Instagram at Mastering the Business of Yoga. You can sign up for the newsletter on the website at mbomyoga.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening and namaste.